Greetings and welcome to a very special episode of The Cozy Arts. Today we are attempting to recreate Mrs. Crocombe's Hydropathic pudding from English Heritage The Victorian Way series. We begin by gathering summer fruits from the garden. I collected red currants with the assistance of a fork, but in the future I'll just harvest with my fingers. We moved on to raspberries. It is raspberry season here, and I was delighted to have an opportunity to use up some of my red raspberries, which are distinctly inferior to my golden raspberries. The bulk of the golden raspberries goes straight into my mouth. The service berries, or June berries, are best picked when they turn a deep purple color. This is a deviation from the original recipe, but peasants must use what they have. The recipe calls for gooseberries, which I do not have access to, so instead I added some rhubarb. Now you may be shouting at your screen that it is too late in the season to harvest rhubarb. My plants have been affected by the red spot fungus, which I've been trying to keep in check by harvesting stems with affected leaves. The stems are still edible, but the leaves must be trashed. The rhubarb stems were chopped, the berries were clean, and then I began adding them to a pan to cook them down. I had a small panic attack when I remembered too late that I wanted to save back some of the berries for an unrelated baked good, rhubarb and berry bars. They were delicious. I added a little sugar and stirred occasionally until it looked positively jammy. Mrs. Crocombe lines a buttered bowl with parchment paper and bread, but alas, I am a mere peasant and do not have parchment paper. I do have butter though, so I buttered my bowl and began cutting the bread. Mrs. Crocombe uses only the finest of white bread. She is civilized and an icon, and would never use anything so rough and poor as a wheat-berry bread. But alas, peasants such as I must make do with the bread available. Then I placed my buttered and breaded bowl into my favorite big bowl, which sadly was shattered in an unrelated incident this very morning. Rest in pieces, favorite big bowl, and poured my fruit mixture, topped with a final piece of bread, then covered and weighed down the pudding and placed it in the cold box, or as we call it, our refrigerator. And then I waited and waited. It became apparent that I cooked the berries for too long and the bread wasn't going to soak up any juices. I did another quick round of harvesting and cooking, but this time I softened the rhubarb before adding the berries, and then cooked only until the berries began to fall apart. I didn't have enough fruit to fill this bowl, so I folded down the remaining bread, weighted it, and popped it into the cold box overnight. And then it was time for that glorious moment. In Mrs. Crocombe's video, she never sliced into the pudding, which sparked in me a deep need to see, to know. It was the tease that led me to making this pudding, twice even. I was worried that it would just be bread with too much jam on it, but it had a softer texture inside. And then, as for the taste, soggy bread. The fruit was okay, but nothing special. But what I couldn't get past was the bread. Perhaps the wheat bread truly made this too ungenteel. I suspect I would still not enjoy this bread even with the most refined of white breads. Maybe I'm simply too much of a peasant to appreciate an old person's version of a healthy dessert. Either way, next time you have summer fruits, make some bars. They were fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep it cozy.